Hello everyone, John Cummings here with Heartland Payment Systems. I'm going to be talking about Heartland for a minute or two, and then I'm going to be talking about some of the things that Heartland can do in a brick and mortar setting and an e-commerce setting to help a person's business and help present that business the right way. Then I'm going to be passing it off to Tom Vandelist, whom I work with, and he's going to talk for a few minutes about mobile transactions and things that can do to benefit your business. And then we're going to pass it off to Doug to talk about payroll. And Heartland Payment Systems, we're a payments technology company. Our core areas are payments technology with processing and for credit cards. And also we happen to be the third largest publicly traded payroll company in the country. We have a broad group of customers that we work with, from the small merchant that is only doing $50,000 or less in processing a year, to the large customer that's doing tens of millions or up to even hundreds of millions of dollars in processing a year. So we have services for all of that. The main thing to keep in mind is that in order to display your brand the correct way, you really need to be setting a positive image, and you really need to be accepting payments and accepting cash always and always. You have to be able to, a true story, just a friend of mine told me yesterday, he was working with a dermatology sales rep, and she was a successful salesperson and always presented her business as a successful enterprise. Well, she wasn't taking credit cards, and he said to me, well, I felt like I had to walk back to the 80s to get my checkbook to pay for this service. And he basically told me he didn't feel comfortable doing business with someone that doesn't take credit cards. The thing is, those customers, they're generally not going to tell you that. They're just going to find someone else to do business with. So for the cost of really a cell phone coverage on a monthly basis, any business can set up a merchant account and be able to accept electronic transactions. I'm going to be talking about brick and mortar briefly, and a couple of the things that new customers or new merchants really need to pay attention to when they're setting up their merchant account is the fact that, Heartland Payment Systems, we're known as a real merchant advocate. There's the elephant in the room. There's about 3,000 companies selling credit card processing in the United States. There's about a dozen of us that are direct processors. A direct processor means no middlemen involved. And the big thing to look out for on a brick and mortar location is costs of your equipment. Oftentimes, new merchants that may not know any better are propositioned by even their banks or other independent service operators who are selling leases for equipment. Do yourself a favor and do your friends a favor, and if they're ever approached to set up merchant processing and it's suggested that they should sign a contract for a lease, it's not a good situation, because the cost of a terminal should be about $300 or less, and if you're paying more than that, it's not the best spot for your business. And my coworkers and I all the time see people that don't know any better that are signing up for $50 a month for 4 or 5 years for a terminal that should cost $300. And those leases that companies would get you into are basically bulletproof. I haven't seen anyone get out of that lease, and that's throwing money out of the window. So keep your eyes open and know that that's an issue that you should know about. E-commerce, and BusyWeb's going to be talking a lot about websites and things like that. But to work with a provider that can offer different gateways to settle those payments that you have on an e-commerce setting, and also to allow you to have options for providers to use on those gateways is very important for a merchant. So you don't want to be stuck into a proprietary situation. Those are things to keep in mind when you're when you're asking these questions and looking into setting up merchant accounts. I'm going to pass it off now to Tom to talk about mobile payments, and then I'm going to be talking about security for a minute at the end. Thanks.
Thanks everyone for coming out today. And like John said, I'm going to talk about mobile payments. And I'm going to talk about how you can take mobile payments without using a credit card terminal per se. What we'd be looking at is a unit that would go on an Android phone or a Apple anything. Apple phone, Apple iPad. It's called mobile. What we do with mobile, well, here I'll just read you a quick little story about it. Mobile is a mobile payment solution that allows you to close sales wherever you are, quickly and securely. Turn your smartphone, mobile device into a credit card terminal by simply downloading the Heartland mobile app, connecting it to the encrypted card reader to your phone's audio jack. Accept all major credit cards, corporate cards, and gift cards without storing any card holder data. So this is encrypted. It's something that we've invented. It's called E3. It's end-to-end encryption. So when you swipe a card, there's no way that anyone can take any of that information from you or from the merchant that you're using, which is a great thing. It's PCI compliant. PCI is called Payment Card Industry. Those are rules and regulations that the Visa and the MasterCard people put out there. And as a merchant, you have to be PCI compliant. Usually there's a test that you have to take every year. If not, we are PCI compliant. We can definitely help you with those things. So what I'm going to show you is how this actually works. This just tells a little bit about this, and everything is available on our website. But what it is the mobile app is a free app that you download on your phone, or like I said, on your iPad, anything you'd like. And what it is, what you'll do is you take this, you put your credit card through it, it'll download all these fields, and they'll all be truncated. The only thing that's open is the total amount. So you put the amount of the sale in there, push process, and then it'll come up with a tip if that is a restaurant or a retail that would take tips, such as a beauty salon, a limo company. You can add the tip amount that you preset, 10, 15, 20, or other. And I can't scroll down, but it'll show the sale, and you sign your name with your finger on it, and that's underneath. Then you can send the receipt to the person. You put in the person's email, and that'll send the receipt. And what it'll show is you'll be CC'd in on it. So now you have that information from that person. You know who you did the sale with, and you can keep that for your records. And then you'll just go to where it says submitting, and you can submit this. You'll close it out for the batch. So the money will go from your terminal, your phone or your iPad, into your bank account. And you settle the batch. You push proceed. You push that down there. It'll show the total amount of what you've used with cards for the day. It'll say Visa, $100, MasterCard, $300, and then you can actually send that receipt to yourself. So, and it's all secure, and it's all very easy to use. It works. Some companies I have many of these, and they can use them on all their devices. They can be shared items. So with mobile processing, it's just a much more professional way to show your business if you're doing things that aren't in an office, like a brick and mortar place. You're out in the field, as we call it, and you're working. Again, limo company. I have people that do like invisible fencing that sell things out in the field. They used to write down credit card numbers, call it up on their phone. Nobody here wants to give their credit card number to someone who's going to be writing it down and taking it with them or putting it over the phone. This is a much more secure way to do it. So just one of the many options of card processing we have. The other thing I'd like to talk about too is gift cards. I'm sure everybody has received or purchased a gift card here. You know how easy the transaction is and how convenient it is. One thing I like to tell you about the gift cards, as we call it gift marketing. This is a great way to get your name out on the street without, if people here have ever used a newspaper ad, a TV ad, a radio ad. You know those things can be very, very expensive. You don't always know how you can track the business that comes in. These you can use 3 different ways. A standard gift card, just like we talked about. Somebody comes into your business, they give you $25, you load the card, you give it to them, and they either use it for themselves or give it as a gift. You have a rewards program where you can use it. People come in and spend X amount of money, and you give them $10 after they spend so much. Goes on the card automatically. It's a free reward gift. The other one is loyalty, where people will come in and they come to your place, say 15 times, and at the 15th time, you give them $10, whatever you want to set it up, and then it goes on the card automatically. They're very nice. They have your name, your phone number, your address on them. They look very professional compared to paper gift certificates, which I'm sure we've all seen and lost and washed, like I did last week with one from a new business. And now it's just a little green ball. Can't use it again. These you can also keep track of online. You can see how many cards are out there, what people have spent on it, and how much money is available still. And a lot of times, again, everybody has probably done this where you get a gift card and you don't ever use it, but somebody paid for it, and now you have that money. There's no expiration date on them. You can use them as much as you want. And that's the nice thing. They don't chip, they don't peel, they don't crack. The magnetic strip, you can use them hundreds of times and reuse them and reuse them. So the value in this is quite substantial to show that your business is a great tool for these. So, Tom Vandelis with Heartland Payment Systems. That's it. Doug?
My name is Doug McCaustland, and during my segment today, folks, I'm going to talk about how a payroll service provider can impact your both external image and your internal image, your internal client base or your external client base, with an outside payroll service. Just a tiny little bit about Heartland to establish our credibility in this topic. We're the third largest publicly held payroll company in the country. Everyone knows the other two. We are the sole endorsed provider for 45 state restaurant associations, 43 state hotel and lodging associations, and over 200 plus retail and service groups. And we're the third largest publicly held payroll company. Now, how does this affect your image, okay, to both your internal client base of customers and also the external vendors that you work with is a little bit more dynamic than you think it can be. What I'm going to do is give you some ideas. These are some sample payroll modules that just happen to be from Heartland, but they can do some really neat things for you. My HR Center is basically a repository for job descriptions, forms, employee handbooks, things of that nature. It helps your business to have resources and structure so that when situations come up, you know how to handle them, how disciplinary actions come up, you know how to handle them also too. And we've all been in those companies where maybe the structure was not present and you felt a little bit uneasy about, you know, how's this going to be handled, or you saw someone being treated a little bit different than maybe you were treated. That's an image issue within a company. If you don't have that, you're not projecting, you know, levels of competence and that you have a level playing field. And these payroll programs are very economical. Just FYI, I did a one-person payroll last week and a two-person payroll. You wouldn't think that is attainable, but it really is. It's very reasonable out there with the right providers. The next module is My Employee Files, which is basically the ability to take your business paperless. Okay, your employee files, records, signed forms, and basically it's being stored in the cloud in a secured data warehouse. Okay, and this really conveys stability and continuity for not only for your internal folks, because you have a disaster recovery program. It also, creditors feel a little bit more comfortable with you when you are showing that you're making plans for the inevitabilities that may or may not happen with your business. But it's surprising how much fire, tornado, and water damage can happen within a business. The efficiency that can be gained with this and making your employees see how you've got your act together by going paperless, both internally and externally, can be tremendous. You know, and it reduces the uncertainty for both your external vendors and your internal customer base. The Info Center is basically an employee portal, and I've seen this create so much goodwill, image projection within companies, and the tiniest of companies, because what you can do with it is you can establish a tool it's a secure website portal where employees can access schedules, policies, handbooks, W-2s, PTO, disciplinary actions, and things of that nature. And I'll give you just a couple examples here. I had a small business owner tell me last week he has 6 employees, okay, and he had an employee out on a weekend wanting to buy a car, okay? And when he got back the next Monday, he got a really nice compliment from the employee. He says, you know, I was out at the dealership wanting to buy a car. I got to the finance manager's office and he said, well, hey, in order for you to buy this car, you need 6 paycheck stubs. The guy whipped out his phone, right? He whipped out his phone first, pulled up all the information, then sent an email to the guy in his PC, printed off the paycheck stubs, bought the car that he'd been looking for a long period of time, didn't have to contact HR, didn't have to get a hold of the small business owner the next Monday and say, hey, I need those paycheck stubs. It all happened on their time and made the business look shine in that employee's eyes of how professional they were. It's like, it was a really neat thing. And in case you're not convinced yet that payroll can influence your image with employees, I'll tell you just a little story about my wife. She worked for the world's largest casino in the world. And you would think with all the capital that these folks have, that they'd have their act together and have all the, everything employee related or HR related would be streamlined and efficient and things of that nature. Heck, they even have a whole building that's dedicated to HR. Not so. During her time there, anything that was relating to her employment, she needed to visit HR, whether she wanted to get paycheck stubs or deductions or see her schedule. She had to go to a note board, within the company policies, W-2s, vacation time that she had accrued, all had to be going to a certain person. And in big organizations, that can be a problem, but think about it, even smaller organizations, how much is even more a problem, because that person's probably out doing a delivery, or they're doing marketing, or they're working with their website or something of that nature. So anything dealing with her employee records, she can get that information on her time and not have to take the time within the business. And so the projection that gave to her of that organization not doing that really diminished her opinion of that. And it even got to after she had driven down to go get this stuff printed off, and then what happens, of course, the printer doesn't work. That never happens. So I know firsthand her frustration that she in getting these records and not being able to get the information on her timeline and the image that was conveyed to her by her employee. And it equally frustrated the other employees. And the kind of banter that took place in the break room and what took place in the line going to the HR office was not something that you want to have fostered within your company. And it really doesn't make sense, does it, to do it that way if you don't have to, and it's super economical to do it. So we try to enable the person to be able to do this with a small business where it's 1 employee or 1,000. It enables you to empower the employee to get the information when they need it, and you can focus on strengthening and growing your business. And the last thing I'll touch upon is your business partner reporting center. This is a module that can project an image to your external vendors. This is more externally facing towards the vendors that you work with, such as your CPAs, your insurance providers, financial planners, benefits administrators. You can give access to this data to them 24 hours a day for tax information, census information, and things of that nature. And I had an owner 3 weeks ago recalling end of year trials and tribulations he went through, and quarterly he goes through and trying to get that information to his financial vendors. You're busy running your business, they're busy running their practice, you're trying to communicate, you're exchanging voicemails and everything back and forth. It's really nice when you're CPA, and it saves you bucks too doing it this way. At 11:30 at night on a Thursday night, can pull up your information and accurately do yours and not have to bill you for the time that he kept going back and forth to communicate with you. So for a low cost, outsourcing payroll can greatly enhance your efficiency and productivity and really improve your internal and external image within your companies and to who you're representing or who you're working with on the outside. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to John.
And I'm going to wrap it up here very briefly. And I wanted to touch base on what Tom had mentioned before. Everything that has been talked about here about projecting your image in the right way can be thrown out the window if you're not protecting your customers' cardholder data, if you're not protecting their information and something bad happens, you know, all of that goodwill, all of that image building that you have just been doing, everything that we've been talking about is out the window. And it takes a fair amount of time to get that back. Something that we have, it's end-to-end encryption. It's really the top level of encryption that's out there in the industry. It's something that Tom mentioned, and we offer this on point of sale systems, on the mobile system that Tom was talking about, and on some e-commerce platforms. And what it does is it's going to take your cardholder data and encrypt it from the actual second of the swipe, opposed to having it be encrypted, you know, during the batch at the end of the day. There's that period of time in between that allows the bad guys to get information that they shouldn't be having. Even if someone were to steal information from a Heartland merchant that had end-to-end encryption, they would be getting encrypted gibberish. And we're so confident in this process that we take full liability for all of our customers that are using the end-to-end encrypted technologies. And we don't charge anything more for these technologies. You can still get this for the same $300, you know, for a terminal or equipment cost. It's not that expensive. You want to partner with someone who's going to put the focus on the infrastructure and protect you and your business the way that you would like to be protected. Like I said, Target wishes they probably would have had that type of system in their infrastructure, and I think they're working towards that end these days. With that, I'm going to hand it back to Pat, and thanks a lot.